Hey guys, here is the Paladin explanation walkthrough, whatever you want to call it. This is also on my 110. I've got most of the classes at 110 Paladins here, so I'm going to come on in. He hasn't done any of the new stuff, so his target dummies are going to be different than the Shamans if you watch the Shaman video. So the Paladin has one damage spec. It's different than the Shaman. The Shaman has two, one melee and one ranged, and then a healing spec. The Paladin has a tank spec, a healing spec, and a melee DPS spec. Melee is the up in your face, close range combat. He uses light magic, which makes all of his spells look really pretty. Is all about fighting for good. So, this is stuff that I don't need. Let's go back to Orgrimmar. Oh, I could totally attack this guy. Except he's 120. Never mind. He would destroy me. Except he's probably AFK. He's probably just sitting there.
The Horde's selfless leadership in the war against the Legion
All right.
has left our ranks depleted. Our enemies slaver at the thought of stealing what is ours.
Let me get over the target dummies here. And we'll do the same thing we did with the Shaman. We'll just kind of go through each, go through the spec. I'll explain the protection, short for protection, and the retribution, which is the melee damage spec. I'll do the exact same format we did. I'll start with retribution though. Okay, so the first thing you have here is the power builder spender system. The enhancement shaman has maelstrom power, and it was kind of like you start off with 0 and you have a max of 100, and each of your abilities, 2 of your abilities built up and then 2 of them spent, or 1 of them built up, 2 of them spent, and it was kind of a system where you got large chunks of it at a time. The Retribution Paladin uses something called Holy Power, and he starts off with 0. If you look at this little health bar necklace here, it's got these little symbol runes on it. This is where his Holy Power is going to show up. So he starts off with 0. His abilities generate 1 or 2 depending on which one you use, and then there's 2 abilities that spend up minimum 3, maximum of 5. So you can only have 5 Holy Power on you at any time, and as you build them, you can spend them as you choose or wait and save them up and spend them that way. So Crusader Strike is your first ability. It has 2 charges, and I think that might be a talent that's doing that. Maybe not. Cool. All right. So it generates 1 Holy Power. It does mediocre damage. Templar's Verdict is a spender. It spends 3 Holy Power. So even if you have 5, it spends 3. So let me show you what that looks like. I'll come up to this guy. I have a hair in my mouth. There we go. Got it. Sorry. Okay, so that's 85. I want somebody that's my level. These aren't going to be very good. Well, these will work over here. Okay, so I'm going to use Crusader Strike, and you'll see as I deal damage with Crusader Strike, my Holy Power here shows up. Don't worry about these for now. I'll tell you about those in a minute. So I'm going to hit it again. Now I've got 2. I'm going to hit it again. Now I've got 3. Now Templar's Verdict shows up, and I can do damage. So watch the animations, right? So here's 2. Here's 3. It gives me little wings, and I swing and hit. It's really, really cool. Okay, so that's Templar's Verdict. That's how the Holy Power Builder Spender system works. Blades of Justice is one of the few abilities we get that gives us 2 holy power, but we have a 9-second cooldown before we can use it again. So I can attack this thing even from ranged. I can hit it from here, and I just cause a giant sword to come up out of the ground, and that gives me 2 holy power. So if I come up here and do Crusader Strike, Templar's Verdict, I can do Blades of Justice, Crusader Strike, Templar's Verdict. So it lets you get to use Templar's Verdict quicker. So let's look at the damage differences between these two abilities. So Crusader Strike is only like 700 or so. Blades of Justice is not quite double, but it's pretty close, but 1300. And then Templar's Verdict is like 2300, 2400. So you're talking like 4 times as much damage Templar's Verdict is from Crusader Strike, and not quite twice as much as Blades of Justice. So in either case, Templar's Verdict is much more powerful, and you want to use that as often as possible. So if you have 3 holy power and you want to do lots of damage, use Templar's Verdict. The next one here is Shield of Vengeance, and this is a 2-minute cooldown. Creates a barrier of holy light that absorbs damage for 15 seconds. When the shield expires, it bursts into holy damage equal to the total amount absorbed divided amongst all enemies. So this one's kind of hard for me to show. Let's go out here into the world, and let's get some low-level guys to kind of be mad at us, and we'll run around and we'll put this on. So it's on us for 15 seconds. It's a really cool ability because it reduces the damage you take by a lot. So come down here, and these guys aren't going to be able to hit me probably. Maybe they will, but I'll still show you the ability whether they hit me or not. Okay, come here. He just totally ignored me. Come here. Maybe I'm too high level for this. I don't know. This basilisk will be mad at me, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Let's come and get another friend. I want a couple. Right? Okay. Come here. Come here. Oh, that other guy got scared. Okay, so these 2 are fine. Get off my mount, and then we're gonna pop our shield. Like, it looks really, really cool. It like completely surrounds you in this shield of holy light. Kind of a little bit like fire, I guess, right? And then after it expires here, it's going to explode, and it would have done damage to these guys had they been doing damage to me. But so yeah, that's how that works. kind of cool. I like it a lot. Okay, Divine Storm here is a another holy power spender, and it's kind of like your Crusader Strike, or I'm sorry, your Templar's Verdict, except that it is an area of effect. Let's get back over here to the target dummies and show you what it does. I'm gonna stand here in the middle and attack this guy, one of the guys here in the middle, and I'm gonna get up to 3 holy power, and then I'm gonna use Templar's Verdict, which spins me around and it does damage to everybody around me. So let's do that again. Cool, huh? Yeah, it does okay damage. It does less damage than Blades of Justice, but it does it to everybody. So it doesn't matter how many targets you have around you, it's doing that damage to everybody. That's pretty cool. And then you've got this passive ability, Retribution. When any party or raid member within 40 yards dies, you gain increased damage done and 30% damage reduction for 10 seconds. This probably isn't going to be very useful for single player. When you're by yourself, this isn't too much. But if you get the courage to get into a group and do like dungeon stuff, that could be useful. But it requires them to die, so I don't particularly like this passive. Alright, so we went over Blades of Justice. Blessing of Freedom. This also works on you, so what this does is grants immunity to movement and pairing effects. So let's say that I'm being targeted by somebody that's wanting to slow me down or whatever. Like, I think, I don't know if you guys remember the daze mechanic. So let's say that you're running away from something, and it's trying to slow you down. Well, you could do Hand of Freedom, and you cannot be slowed down or stopped with Blessing of Freedom on. So, and it's just got this little aura around your feet that shows you that that is still active. As soon as that's gone, that buff is gone. Blessing of Protection blesses a party or raid member or yourself, granting immunity to physical damage and harmful effects for 15 seconds. Cannot be used on targets, so this causes forbearance. This is similar to your Shield of Vengeance, except it's much more powerful. So, watch. Come up here, and I'm going to plot Blessing of Protection. This should prevent me from taking any damage at all. At all. So I could fall at the bottom of the world, hit Blessing of Protection, and I am not taking damage. I can still do damage. It's kind of cool. Alright. So Blessing of Protection, very cool, very powerful. You'll notice that it gave me this cooldown here called Forbearance. It's very short. It's not that big of a deal. You're not going to be able to use Blessing of Protection again for 5 minutes. And Forbearance only is on for a couple seconds. Not a big deal. Cleanse Toxins is your ability to cleanse poison or disease. If I have either one of those on me, I can cleanse it off. No big deal. It's pretty cool. This isn't really an ability. This is just kind of a fluff. You just sit here and contemplate life. This does nothing. That's why it's not on my bars. That's talent. We'll come back to that. We went over Crusader Strike. Divine Shield is another forbearance causing ability, and it too provides immunity to everything. So again, if I'm at the top of the world and I hit Divine Shield, or let's say I fall off my horse and like, oh no, what am I going to do? I'm going to die falling. I can hit Blessing and Protection, or I'm sorry, Divine Shield, and I can't fall. And I can still do damage. It's OP. Yeah. So it's 8 seconds, so it's a little bit shorter. But yeah, they're both very, very powerful. I can't believe that they have 2 of them. Immunity to all damage. So literally everything. Anything. Whereas this is just physical damage and harmful effects. So if you're being casted on by a mage, this Blessing of Protection is not going to stop that damage. Divine Shield will. Okay, Divine Steed. As you level up, level 40 and then again at level 60, I believe. Maybe it's 20 and 40 now. It's been a long time since I've leveled a Paladin. You get your own mount, which is really cool. What Divine Steed does is it lets you move on a horse. So this is not me mounting. This is me just running. So I run over here, and I'm just going to run and then hit Divine Steed. It puts me on a horse, lets me move a little bit faster, and then it kicks me off. So that's what Divine Steed does. It's pretty cool. It just lets you get around faster, and then it goes away. But yeah, you get a mount at 20 and 40 as well. So that's kind of cool. That's why I brought those up. Okay, we went over Divine Storm. Flash of Light is your self-heal or heal anybody kind of heal. So my friend over here, I don't know if he's a good example. Here, I'll use this player. He's not a good example either. I'll use this player. I want to heal him. Basically, you see the little aura that goes around him when you heal? It's really cool looking. I'll just heal myself here. Yeah. Look at my face. Yeah, it just puts like a little... It's just a heal. It does decent healing. Greater Blessing of Kings places a powerful blessing on a single ally for an hour, granting shield that absorbs damage for 6 seconds. So I'll put that on myself, and whenever I take damage, it will put a shield on me, I guess. I don't know. Greater Blessing of Wisdom places a powerful blessing on a single target for an hour, restoring their health and mana 1% for an hour, so I could put that on myself. I could have both of them on me, which is crazy, for an hour. Hammer of Justice, this is your stun. So I'm going to come over to this target here and hit Hammer of Justice. And it just brings a hammer from the sky, like Thor, and smashes this guy in the head and knocks him out for a couple minutes. Hand of Hindrance is one of those abilities that slows down the target, that burdens an enemy target with the weight of their misdeeds, reducing their movement speed by 70%. So this guy doesn't move, but if I didn't want him to move anywhere else, for sure, I could put Hand of Hindrance on him. There's Hand of Reckoning, commands the target, the attention of your target to attack you, so it's what's called a taunt. I believe the first ability that made a target look at you and attack you was called Taunt. So every ability after that that does the same thing is a Taunt. That's kind of how that's developed. Alright, now we get into Judgment. Judgment is a core ability. It generates holy power. It's going to be part of your spending resources. You haven't seen me use it yet. Judges the target, dealing 1,102 damage and causing them to take 25% increased damage from your next ability that costs holy power. So, that debuff, I wonder how long that debuff stays on the target. Quite a long time, 14 seconds. So we'll come up here, and the next ability that costs holy power is going to be either Divine Storm that we've talked about, or Templar's Verdict. So I'm going to hit Templar's Verdict, and now it does a lot more damage. A lot more damage. So if you're wondering why these numbers don't match up with these numbers, it's because these targets are far, far less level than me, and they've done several number squishes over the course of the game. So this probably should read out 1,102 damage, 102,000 damage, but they've squished the numbers. Lay on Hands is a very powerful heal. Let's see if I can time this right. Hurt myself here a little bit. Don't heal me, Shaman. Okay, so now I can lay on hands myself and 100% healing all the way to full. So it's one of those abilities that causes forbearance. Those abilities are very, very powerful, and you can only use very sparingly. So Lay on Hands is a 10-minute cooldown, whereas your Divine Shield and Blessing of Protection are 5-minute cooldown. Lay on Hands is 10 because it gives you all of your health back. It doesn't matter how low you are. You could be at 1 health, hit Lay on Hands, and you're going to be at full health. Crazy. Rebuke is your spell interrupt, so this guy's casting on me. I just hit Rebuke, and it will stop him from casting. Redemption is your resurrection. So the Shaman has a resurrection. Most healing, I think all healing classes has a resurrection. Shield of Vengeance is creates a barrier. We went over that, right? We went over that. Yeah. Okay, so Art of War is a passive, so let's go over the passives real quick. Your auto attacks have a chance to reset the cooldown of Blades of Justice. You saw that here. Let me come over here and attack this guy. These are the auto attacks. They're the white damage that you see. See how long this takes to go. There we go. So these right here is Art of War. That's when Art of War procs. So you can use Blades of Justice again. So this right here is, I believe, is that a talent that I have? It might be a talent that I have. We haven't gone over yet. Basically that one, we'll go over that. Okay, so this is kind of like your rotation. You want to hit Judgment as often as possible. Well, every time it's up, basically. Every time anything is up, you're going to want to be using it. Judgment also, I don't know if I mentioned, also generates 1 holy power. So everything you do now generates holy power, which is great. It didn't used to be like that. So I'm going to save that for a second. I'm going to hit it. So now watch this. I'm going to have 4 holy power, but Templar's Verdict is only going to take 3. So it's okay if you overcap a little bit, because the system is designed to handle it. It's a very cool looking spec, isn't it? I like it a lot. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's go over talents. I'm not exactly sure if this is the preferred talent spec. Let's look that up real quick. This is what I had at the end of the last expansion, and I haven't looked at him again since. No, it is not. Okay, so this is the spec here. I don't know what it's throwing on my bars here. Let's take all those off. I can just kind of go over each of these here real quick. Judgment empowers you with Holy Zeal, causing your next 3 auto attacks to occur 30% faster and deal holy damage. No big deal. That just is a passive. It's on all the time. Every time you judge, so I'll just click on it here. It's going to give me Zeal up here. So 3 auto attacks will do more damage. That's all it does. This is the other one here is Execution Sentence. This is really cool looking. If you can totally take this if you want. This costs 3 holy power, so let's get holy power real quick. Alright, and then I'll cast this on the guy, and it just is a huge hammer that comes down from the sky and deals almost as much damage as Templar's Verdict. And increases the target's holy damage taken for 20 seconds. So that's crazy. So I would totally go with that if I were to choose, because that's great. That's pretty powerful. So let's wait until that comes off cooldown here. Use that, and now it debuffs the target and lets you do more damage to them all the time. I know why people aren't taking this, because they don't like those kind of mechanics where you have a window of time to do extra damage. That's why they're not taking that one. Alright, this is the one everybody prefers. Oh, I gotta wait for this to be off of cooldown. So the preferred one that everybody says that we should be using is this one here. So Templar's Verdict increases the damage of your next Templar's Verdict by 15% for 6 seconds. As a leveler, I'm not exactly sure that that's true. Okay, let's do... so they're saying that there's several different abilities here, right? So they say that this here is your solo, like if you're by yourself, this is the best thing to get, best thing to do. So this is more for raiding, doing group content. That's why I was like, let's look again. Okay, so this is going to be good for doing quests. When you are leveling up, this is level 15, it'll be the first one to get. Grab Zeal. Then on the next line here, you want to grab Blades of Wrath. Art of War resets the cooldown of Blades of Justice 100% more often and increases its damage by 25%. We know that Art of War resets the cooldown of Blades of Justice. This talent just lets it do it more often, which is really cool. It lets you deal with bosses. Look at that. It's coming up all the time. That's great. Hammer of Wrath here is another ability that's pretty cool. But it's kind of like an execution sentence. They used to have this for all paladins. We can't use it on these guys because these guys aren't less than 20% health, but it just does a lot of damage when they're below 20% health. Lets you finish off somebody a little bit faster. We'll keep that one here. This one over here reduces the cooldown of Crusader Strike by 15%, grants it a 15% chance to make your next ability consume one less holy power. I really like Fires of Justice, but I can totally see how Blaze of Wrath is way better. Fist of Justice is just each holy power spent reduces the remaining cooldown of Hammer of Justice by 12 seconds, or by 2 seconds. Remember, Hammer of Justice is our stun. I like that because as you do stuff, you can stun somebody more often. So let's say you're out here beating on a guy and you want to stun him, prevent him from doing damage. Well, as you're doing stuff, it reduces the cooldown so you can do it again. Because it's got kind of a long cooldown before you can do it again. So I still can't do it again. Yeah. So it's quite a while before you can do it again. So it's nice to have it from like maybe every other mob that you're fighting or something like that. Yeah, there we go. I can stun him again. So that's actually pretty quick. It's like a minute cooldown normally. We probably turned it into like a 40 second cooldown. Each holy power spent. So yeah, basically doing what you're doing. Wake of Ashes. Lash out at your enemies, dealing radiant damage to all enemies within 12 yards in front of you, and reduces their movement speed by 50%. So if you're fighting a demon or an undead target, they are stunned. So that's kind of cool. So this is come over here, and we're just going to swing like that. That is our Wake of Ashes. Now, did you notice that it gave us 5 holy power? Yeah, so now we can kind of spend it very, very quickly, get it back pretty quickly. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, and it's on a 45-second cooldown, so that's pretty cool. I definitely get that. Consecration is also very useful. This can't change it while we're waiting for it to come off cooldown. This basically generates a holy power. So instead of generating 5, it generates just 1. But it puts a pool of stuff on the ground that when enemies stand in it, they take damage. So that's pretty cool. And they take a decent amount of damage. Not a lot. But you can cast it down a lot more often. It's only a 20-second cooldown versus 45. But when you look at how much holy power is generated over time, Wake of Ashes is just way better. In Divine Judgment, each enemy hit by an ability consumes holy power, increases the damage of your next judgment by 20%, stacking up to 15 times. I can see that being a raid thing. I'd take Wake of Ashes. You're gonna get more bang for your buck. Cavalier just lets you ride Divine Steed twice before before you can't use it anymore. So now it's starting to generate. You can see the little light, the little bar moving around here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but 2 charges. That's kind of nice. It's just nice for getting around. Selfless Healer, your holy power spending abilities reduce the cast time of your next Flash of Light by 25%. Increases its healing up to 10%, stacks up to 4 times. So let's see what that looks like here. Every time I spend holy power. So there we go. Selfless Healer right there. So it's stacked up to 2 times. There's 3 times. Let's do Wake of Ashes. There's 4 times. Now my Flash of Light is instant cast. Nice, huh? So if I wanted to cast it now, it would be a very short cast. Yeah, that's kind of nice. And then of course it consumes the buff when you get it. Okay, so the next thing that they recommend here at level 100 is Divine Purpose. I have another one of those rings that you get from Legion expansion that gives you talents for free. So I can select 2 talents, basically. Divine Purpose, your abilities that consume holy power have a 15% chance to make your next ability that consumes holy power free and deal 30% increased damage and healing. So that is the little thing that popped up right here above my head. So let's go ahead and do some damage here. See if we can get it to go off again, now that we're looking for it. There it is. That is Divine Purpose. And it is amazing, because it goes off pretty frequently. And it usually goes off when you want it to, which is kind of cool. You're like, oh man, I could totally use a Divine Purpose right now, and it would go off. It's kind of cool. Alright, the other things on our list here is Crusade. Call upon the light and begin a crusade, increasing your damage done and haste by 3% for 25 seconds. Each holy power spent during crusade increases damage done and haste by an additional 3%. Stacks up to 10 times. That is totally a raid ability. Like, it might as well just be called raid. Choose me in a raid. Inquisition consumes up to 3 holy power to increase your damage done and haste by 7%. So this is a buff that you put on yourself. So I'm going to stick that here. Yes. I do not like Inquisition personally, but it's pretty cool. So I'm going to hit Inquisition here, and it puts a buff on me. And that just makes me do more damage. And you're probably asking why I don't like it. Because I have to manage the buff. And I'm one of those players that gets a little lazy. Well, it's a minute, right? So I could make a weak aura for it to show me when to use it again if I wanted to. But I like, I'm going to be using Divine Purpose anyway. Divine Purpose is way better. And I don't know. Since I have Divine Purpose already given to me free, Inquisition seems like an obvious next choice for leveling. I just use 3 holy power, and then I do 7% more damage and have 7% more haste for 45 seconds. Pretty easy. Okay, so that is the Retribution Paladin. Very fun class, very powerful class. They are one of the best classes, best DPS in the game. They've always done good DPS, except in vanilla. Alright, let's go into the Protection Paladin, and I'll show you how the Protection Paladin works. If I like leveling as a Protection Paladin, a lot of people don't, but I like it. Okay, so let's go over these core abilities here. Hammer of Righteousness, Hammer of the Righteous. Hammer the target for physical damage. While you are standing in your consecration, Hammer of the Righteous also causes a wave of light that hits all other targets within 8 yards. So we remember Consecration from the Retribution Paladin. That's a possible talent. Well, you get it as a core ability for the Protection Paladin. So the first thing you're going to want to do as a Protection Paladin is, when you're in combat, is put down a Consecration, and then when you use Hammer of the Righteous, you will deal damage to everybody around you. So here, let's take a look. I would be surprised if they had a single target leveling Protection Paladin build. Yeah, I just have one. Okay, so we'll go over those here in a minute. I wish I could take these off. But anyway, Hammer of the Righteous is this ability right here. I had something else that replaced it. So put that down, and then when I do Hammer of the Righteous, it deals damage to everybody. Kind of cool. Okay? You'll notice that we do not have Holy Power abilities. We're not building and spending. We're just using stuff. The next ability we have here is Avenger Shield. This is another iconic Protection Paladin ability. Hurls your shield at the target, interrupting and silencing non-player target. And then jumping to 3 additional targets. Increases the effectiveness of your Shield of the Righteous by 20%. We'll go over Shield of the Righteous here in a second. So if I were to target this guy here and cast Avenger Shield, it throws my shield and then it bounces to 3 more guys, so it'll hit 4 guys total. And then it incurs a 13-second cooldown. Now Shield of the Righteous slams your target with your shield, causing holy damage and increasing your armor by a large amount for 4.5 seconds. So let's see if I can get this right here. So armor by 1339, and then let's do it again here, and then cast Avenger Shield. So that just means that when I cast Shield of the Righteous now, it's 1607. So you want to cast Avenger Shield first, because that's going to put a buff on you, and then cast Shield of the Righteous, and that's going to consume that and make you have more armor. Very nice. Light of the Protector calls down the light to heal you for a certain amount, increased by up to 200% based on your missing health. So let's miss some health here. Just come down here, damage myself a little bit. It's an instant cast ability. It's on a 15-second cooldown. You should use it if you're missing health and it's ready to cast. You should cast it. It's one of those things that there's no better time to cast it. You should just always cast it because it will heal you to full. Alright, then Ardent Defender is a 1.4 minute cooldown instant cast ability, reduces all damage you take by 20% for 8 seconds. While Ardent Defender is active, the next attack that would otherwise kill you would instead bring you to 20% of your maximum health. Now, I can't show you this one, but basically, let's say that you're in here, you cast down your Consecrate, throwing your shield, you've got your armor buffed, and you're doing damage, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna die. My Holy Light, or whatever, I forget what that's called. Light of the Protector is on cooldown. What do? You can hit your shield. It's this right here, and now you take 20% less damage. And if an ability was going to kill you, it would not. Basically, that's what it is. It's kind of nice. All right. So we have our first ability here is Avenging Wrath. Call upon the light to become an avatar of retribution, increasing your damage, healing, and critical strike chance by 20%. So this is what a lot of people call wings. So you put this on, it gives you wings, you just like Red Bull, and it gives you 20% more damage and 20% more healing. So when you cast Light of the Protector, it heals you for more. It's just a very powerful ability. Yeah. We know about Blessing of Freedom. We know about Blessing of Protection. Blessing of Sacrifice is a new one. Blesses the party or raid member, reducing their damage taken by 30%, but you suffer 100% of the damage prevented. So you can't cast this on yourself. That would be weird. You can't cast this on people that are not in your group, so we have to have somebody in our group to show it to you. Basically, let's say if you're in a group and you're playing with, let's say, your dad and or your mom, and they are taking a lot of damage, and you want to prevent them from taking that damage, you cast this on them. They take 30% less damage, and all of the damage that they take, you take instead. And this happens for 18 seconds. Yep. Okay, we know about Cleanse Toxins, we know about Consecrate, we know about Contemplation, most useful ability in our kit. We know about Divine Shield, right? It causes forbearance. We know about Divine Steed, we know about Flash of Light. Guardian of Ancient Kings empowers you with the spirit of ancient kings, reducing all damage you take by 50% for 8 seconds. So this one here is really cool. 50% damage reduction. Turns you into a Valkyr. And I think you look really, really, really cool. But that only lasts for 8 seconds and has a 5-minute cooldown. but you take 50% less damage while that is going on. So that is really, really handy. We know about Hammer of Justice. We know about Hammer of the Righteous. Hand of Reckoning, that's our taunt. I mentioned that as a Retribution Paladin, but as a Protection Paladin, that is super important. We want targets attacking us because we have all of the tools I was just talking about that make us take less damage. So higher armor, self-healing, all these abilities that prevent us from taking damage or reduce our damage taken. We want the monsters attacking us and not our friends. That's what a Protection Paladin's job is. They have all the tools, so they're going to make it so that they take the damage and not anybody else. We know about Judgment. We know about Lay of Hands. We know about Rebuke. We know about all of these. Okay, so passives. When you avoid a melee attack or use Hammer of the Righteous, you have a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Avenger's Shield. Let's see if I can use it. So when I use, these guys don't hit me, so I'm not going to be able to avoid them. But when I use Hammer of the Righteous, I have a 15% chance of resetting the cooldown of Avenger's Shield. So let's cast Avenger's Shield. I'll get myself my buff. I'll put down this and start doing Hammer of the Righteous. See if I can get it to go. Hammer of the Righteous is one of those abilities that you're going to be pretty much using as soon as you can. That's not a very 15% chance, huh? That's not a lot, I gotta say. And sure enough, it's not happening very much. Okay, well, never mind. That's not happening. Basically, it's the same as I forget what it's called already. The Blades of Justice, where it gets reset and you can use it again. That's all that does. So, Hammer of the Righteous has a chance to reset the cooldown of Avenger's Shield unless you use it again. So, Heart of the Crusader, you move 20% faster while mounted. So, when I get on my mount and fly around, I move faster than everybody else because I'm a paladin. And that's why. Mastery, I didn't go over the Retribution Paladin Mastery, did I? I totally forgot. Reduces all damage taken while inside Consecration and increases your chance to block. Also increases your attack power. This is all based off of that Mastery stat. So the higher your Mastery, the less damage you're going to take while you're in Consecration. So cast this guy, put that up. So now I'm taking just all this less damage. Yep. Cool. Okay. That is all of that for the Protection Paladin, all of their abilities. Let's take a look at talents. So I use... Alright, I don't want to be in combat anymore. Blessed Hammer. This is just something that's given to me. But Blessed Hammer turns your Hammer of the Righteous into Blessed Hammer. So it doesn't matter if I'm in Consecration anymore, because when I cast Blessed Hammer, it surrounds me with a hammer that deals damage to everybody anyway. So Blessed Hammer is pretty cool, because I believe every time it does damage, it has a chance to reset my shield. Maybe not. Maybe it's just the first time it deals damage. There it goes. That is Avenger's Valor, so now I can use that again. Okay, so that is a Blessed Hammer. I like it a lot. It's very useful. The next one I've got here, I'm not going to go over these other ones because I'm just going to go over the ones that I like. Maybe it will. Okay. Holy Shield, your block chance is increased by 15%. You are able to block spells, and your successful block deals holy damage to your attacker. Normally, you're not able to block spells, but this ability lets you block spells. Readout is a passive ability. Avenger's Shield bounces up to one additional target, increases your block chance by 75% for 8 seconds. Very powerful. If block did more stuff for you. But anyway, so let's see here. Then the next line, I like Crusader's Judgment. Judgment now has 2 charges, and Grand Crusader now also grants a charge of Judgment. So let's remind ourselves Grand Crusader. Yeah, so when your Avenger Shield is reset, your Judgment is also reset. Really cool. Okay, the other ones here on the ability, on the talent list here, Avenger Shield now does 50% increased damage to the first target hit. That's if you want to deal damage. It could be useful leveling, for sure. Bastion of Light immediately grants 3 charges of Shield of the Righteous, or Blessed Hammer. That's not very useful. Neither one of those do anything that's fantastic for you. I mean, other than reduce your damage a little bit, but you're gonna have. I mean, you saw the cooldown of those, less than 4 seconds. I wouldn't really. I don't know. Maybe some people take that. I don't. Fist of Justice, Judgment reduces the remaining cooldown of your Hammer of Justice. So remember, Hammer of Justice is our stun, and we had a way as a Ret Paladin to reduce the cooldown of that. So that's it. A minute, and every time I use Judgment here, it reduces that number by a lot. And Judgment is one of those, since we can reset it with our Blessed Hammer here, it's going to let us stun targets a lot more often. And now we can use it again. That was much faster than the Retribution Paladin. But that's Fist of Justice. Repentance is you put somebody to sleep for a minute. Basically, Blinding Light is an AoE disorient. It's a short disorient, so it's only 6 seconds long. Same thing as a Hammer of Justice, but it's like an AoE ability. It's kind of cool. So Retribution Aura, you and your allies within 60 yards are protected by an aura that lashes out against melee attackers, dealing holy damage. So this used to be like back in the day when paladins weren't useful for anything other than Retribution Aura. This is like very, very beginning of the game. You would bring a paladin for them to keep Retribution Aura up. They could just stand there and do nothing else. Very boring. But it's still around. It doesn't do enough damage to be used. Cavalier is more useful, lets you get around faster. Blessing of Spellwarding blesses the party or raid member, granting immunity to magical damage and harmful effects. This is a forbearance causing ability, so it's very powerful. Immunity to a spell is very powerful. That is a raid ability for sure. Okay, so most other people like Hand of the Protector better here. Reduces the cooldown. The Unbreakable Spirit here reduces the cooldown of your Divine Shield, Ardent Defender, and Lay on Hands by 30%. That's okay. When you Divine Shield, you will also taunt all targets within 15 yards. Very useful if you're doing dungeons. Hand of the Protector here calls down the light to heal friendly target for an amount increased by up to... So this is like... Light of the Protector here gets turned into Hand of the Protector, and you can use it on anybody, not just yourself. Since I'm going to be by myself a lot, I don't know. As a Protection Paladin, you probably aren't going to be by yourself a lot, unless you're just leveling as a Protection Paladin. I like this because I'm not going to be in groups. If I am going to go into a group, I'll switch over. But then, again, I'm going to have a healer with me, so I don't want to use my heal on somebody else. That's why I don't have that. Okay, so this is a very cool ability, Judgment of the Light. Judgment now causes the next 25 successful attacks against the target to heal the attacker. So let's say that you're in a group, and you judge a target. So every single time anything hits this guy, it's going to heal the attacker. Right? It's going to heal me because they're going to be attacking me. Right. Well, when I'm leveling, when I'm playing by myself, a target is not going to live for 25 attacks. But it's very powerful for dungeon, especially raid content when there's 10 to 30 people, 40 people in the group, and everybody's hitting. You put that down and it instantly gets consumed for 25 times 69, so it's very powerful. Uh, Consecrated ground, your consecration is 15% larger, and enemies within it have a 50% reduced movement speed. I like that. Channels an Aegis of Light that protects you and all allies standing within 10 yards behind you for 10 seconds, reducing all damage taken by 20 seconds. Again, this is another group ability, so I were to hold this down. Anybody standing in this area will take a lot less damage. So, yeah. That's not very useful for me as a, if I'm playing by myself, if I'm leveling by myself. Aegis of Light is for groups, for sure. Very, very powerful, though. Down here on this last list, each enemy within 8 yards reduces the damage that you take and increases the damage that you deal by a lot. So this is really, really good for, again, for group content when you're dealing with lots of targets at a time. Very useful. Shield of the Righteous reduces the remaining cooldown of Light of the Protector and Avenger's Wrath by 3 seconds. So Shield of the Righteous, that's this here. That's our armor increasing ability. Reduces the remaining cooldown of Light of the Protector. That's this here. Also, it would be Hand of the Protector if you had that selected. And Avenging Wrath, that's our, ability we call Wings. Very, very useful. Probably a great one to take. It's what everybody is recommending you take on this bar anyway. Seraphim is a casted ability. The light temporary magnifies your power, increasing your crit, haste, mastery, and versatility by an amount, consuming up to 2 charges, Shield of the Righteous, and lasts for 8 seconds per charge. I don't know why I have that. So I'm going to get rid of that. So it's not an ability that I want. So I'm going to go back to this one. Alright, so that is Protection Paladin. So let me go back to Retribution Paladin and finish off those passives that I forgot to do. And then we'll call it a wrap. Okay, so the Mastery here just increases your holy damage done based off of that. And then you got a Retribution passive when a party or raid member within 40 yards dies. We already went over that, right? So the Mastery is the only one that I didn't go over, and that's just you deal more damage. So, alright guys, that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions about the Paladin, if you want me to go over the Holy Spec, I can do that in another video. Kind of like the Shaman, and maybe do a dungeon heal with it with you guys. But I hope you liked it. We'll take care. See ya. Bye.